Hey guys, it's Alexis, aka The Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to do my monthly recommendation video. Monthly Recommendations is a group on Goodreads where we basically just have a topic every month and we recommend a bunch of books. I will go ahead and leave the link to the Goodreads group down below. I've thoroughly enjoyed being part of this group since I joined. Every topic every month is usually something I can participate in, and I've really enjoyed it. This month's topic is our OTPs, so this is just basically the books that have relationships or pairings in them that we can't get enough of, that we are in love with, that we root for these couples from start to finish. I have about 8 books here. I definitely limited this to I'm not going to do any of my OTPs from any of the manga I've read because I've read a lot of manga, and let's be real, I hardcore ship something in every single manga I've ever read. So if I were to do manga too, we'd honestly be here 4 days. So I'm not. So I'm sticking to just traditional books. There's kind of a mix of a bunch of odd pairings in here, so I'll just go ahead and get into it. First couple I'm going to mention is Rose and Dimitri from the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. I've talked a lot about how I read these books when I was in high school. They were still coming out during that time period, and this was a book that me and my group of friends were obsessed with. We loved this book series. And part of it was just that, like, we were so invested in the relationship between Rose and Dimitri. Obviously, we were invested in the stories as a whole. But, you know, Rose and Dimitri have a very rocky relationship. You know, it takes them a couple books to really get together, to put aside everything that's going on in the series and get together, and then things happen, and then they can't be together anymore. And it's like they have such a tumultuous relationship in that, like, everything around them keeps interfering in their relationship. And it was so, like, frustrating to read about because you're just like, I just want Rose and Dimitri to be together. And, like, and I love the conflict, part of the conflict in this series about why they can't get together. In the first half of the series is that, you know, Rose is set to become the guardian for her best friend Lissa. And, you know, Dimitri, there's a scene where, I don't want to spoil it, but there's like a lot of really beautiful scenes where Dimitri's basically like, I can't do my job if I'm in love with you, but it's like he's so obviously in love with her. And guys, like, it's been like 8 years since I read this book series, and I like still get emotional over Rose and Dimitri, okay? Like, I plan on rereading this book series pretty soon, and it'll just be me gushing about my feelings for how much I love Rose and Dimitri, how much I love them individually, how much I love them together, and yeah. The next couple I'm going to mention is a couple I talk about a lot on this channel, and that is Damon and Laurent from the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Pacat. More so in the later 2 books more than in this one, but their relationship is such a slow burn. They definitely start out as enemies for reasons that you really don't fully understand until the 3rd book in the series, which is why when people only read this book and then they hate on it, I'm just like, but you don't understand. Things happen in later books that, like, explain everything that happens in the 1st book. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it, but so I was so invested in their relationship, especially when you read the 2nd book and their relationship really starts to develop and they really kind of start to, like, unapologetically trust in each other, and you really get to see Laurent become a different person around Damon. You get to actually, like, see him open up in the series, and you just get to see the kind of person that, like, they both want to be for the other, and, like, the absolute trust and loyalty that they have between them is so beautiful. And just, I mean, the romance in this book, I would say, is a fairly large part of the story, and so, like, it makes you so invested in it. I mean, if you go to anybody who's read these books and who's enjoyed them, they'll tell you that, like, the level of, like, how invested you are in the relationship is, like, you're drowning in it. And that was okay with me because I absolutely, like I said, once Princess Gambit started and you kind of got to see them legitimately start falling in love with each other. The next couple I'm going to mention is Kath and Levi from Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Look, I relate a lot to Kath, and I've talked about that on this channel before, and so I guess part of the reason I just love this romance so much is because I'm like, I want a Levi. He's just a cute Starbucks barista who sits in Kath's room and listens to her read fan fiction, and their just relationship was so cute. And it obviously, I mean, like, it wasn't perfect. I mean, Levi does things and he messes up, and then Kath does things and he messes up. But I just like how Levi doesn't fix Kath. She obviously has severe anxiety, and I liked that, like, he doesn't come in and, like, change her with his love. To me, it always felt like he came in and he inspired her to want to be a different person, which is okay. I think that's okay for you to meet someone, and it doesn't have to even be a romantic someone. It could be, you know, just an inspiration or whatever, and they just inspire you to want to be, you know, the better you that you can be. And I think that that's the case in this story, because, I mean, as someone who has anxiety, I can tell you that Kat's level of anxiety is incredibly unhealthy. And so I loved watching her come out of her shell in this book, and part of that was that Levi was such an outgoing person that, you know, to kind of be with him, Kath couldn't help but, like, adapt to his outgoingness. And I like that the strength he gave her really helped her to overcome, you know, a lot of the issues she has in this book. And again, every scene where he's just sitting on her bed and she's reading him fan fiction, and she's just like, you don't want to read it anymore, and he's just like, no, keep going, I really like it, keep going, I want to know what happens. And so, like, I want a cute Starbucks barista. I wouldn't read him fan fiction, but I'd read him regular books. I won't. Kat and Levi are just so cute. They're like cotton candy inducing cute. I'm pretty sure the rest of the books on this couple are fairly angsty, but this one I would just say is pretty cute. The next couple I'm gonna mention is one I'm probably in the minority about, and they're my favorite couple from the Lunar Chronicles, and I know that I am probably of a small minority of people who prefer this couple to every other couple. And that's because, you know, a lot of people, when they read the Lunar Chronicles, their, like, favorite couple is Cress and Thorn. I don't ship them, so unpopular opinion, I actually don't like Cress and Thorn together at all, which is terrible. Instead, my favorite couple from the Lunar Chronicles is actually Scarlet and Wolf. I don't know, just something, I guess to me, I felt like there was a certain maturity to their relationship. They're obviously the oldest members of the, like, Lunar Chronicles group. And I liked that, like, they kind of were not enemies at first, but they kind of started out as, like, just people trying to mutually help each other. And then it, like, you know, obviously becomes more, and I like that their relationship really doesn't become anything until later in the series. Like, in Scarlet, the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, the book where you get introduced to these characters, they don't really, it's obvious, Marissa Meyer makes it obvious that there's, like, something there, but they don't actually become, like, a couple until later in the book series, which I liked. I like that kind of slow burn to their relationship. It's just, like, this, like, unshakable loyalty that is just, like, my trope that I'm here for, is just, like, two people who just, like, are so loyal to each other. And that's something I found in Scarlet and Wolf's relationship. And, you know, I like that Scarlet is a badass in her own right, and, you know, I don't know, I was so invested in their relationship, and I don't know why. And so, like, they're my favorite Lunar Chronicles couple, and makes me so sad that, like, so many people, like, don't, like, hardcore ship them as much as I do, and I'm like, but why? They're such a good couple, I don't understand. The next book I'm going to mention actually has two couples that I'm very heavily invested in, and I've OTP'd both of these couples since the minute I started reading this book because I love them so much. And that is both of the relationships in I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This, of course, follows two siblings, Jude and Noah, and it alternates between their stories. Jude's story takes place when they're 16, Noah's story takes place, I believe, when they're 14, and both of them have relationships in this story. Jude has a relationship with this kind of eccentric boy named Oscar, who is an artist like she is, and I loved their relationship. Their relationship made me laugh at times, but it was also had that certain level of angst to it that I absolutely love. And I also really, really liked the relationship between Noah and basically the first guy who ever falls in love with, Brian. And their relationship I liked a lot because it has that certain level of angst to it, but I like that it's very obvious that these two boys are kind of falling in love for the first time, and because they're only 14, there's a certain level of like innocence to it that is just so bittersweet. And I was so invested in the story, and part of it is just that I love Jude and Noah so much. And Jandy Nelson just absolutely slays with her writing. But I absolutely love Jude and Oscar and Noah and Brian, and both of those couples. Like, I honestly can't choose a favorite between the two of them because I equally love them so much. The next couple I'm going to mention is Simon and Blue from Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Guys, if you think I wouldn't read an entire book just about Simon and Blue going on dates and being adorable, you're wrong, because I would. Literally, there's a scene at the end of, I'm not going to spoil anything obviously, but there's a scene at the end. Okay, Simon and the Homo Sapiens Agenda as a whole book is literally cavity-inducing in how sweet and adorable it is, especially with the aspect of the relationship between Simon and Blue. And I found myself smiling while reading that book so much that my cheeks literally would hurt. And there's a scene at the end of the book between Simon and Blue, and literally I had to like stop reading and bury my face in my pillow because it was so adorable that I couldn't. And so, like, I love their relationship so much. I like that it's like an email correspondence. And then of course, like, you don't really get to see their relationship as a whole post once you discover who Blue is. And like, I would totally be okay with that. Like, I would read an entire book, no kidding, just about Simon and Blue. Like, going on dates, going to the amusement park together, going to see movies, like holding hands, like their first kiss together. Literally, I would read an entire book just on them going on dates and being adorable, because I would just smile the whole time because it's so adorable. The next book series I'm going to mention is another one that I had two couples from it that I really, really love, and that is the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater, and of course I'm talking about Ronan and Adam and Gansey and Blue. I really love both of these couples. They both have very, very cute moments in each of them, but they're also very, very angsty, which, if you'll notice, I really love angst. But Ronan is like one of my all-time favorite characters, so I'm just absolutely in love with the idea of him and Adam being together. But I also really liked that, like, over the course of like Gansey and Blue, you really get to see like them kind of like really get into each other, and I really like that. And especially in the fourth book, like the fourth book, while not my favorite in the series, is the best for all of the OTP moments. Like, honestly, it's probably worth just sticking out just to read the fourth book so you can read all of the absolutely adorable OTP moments between Ronan and Adam and Gansey and Blue. But I was so invested in both of these relationships, and I love them both, and I hope that I get to see a lot of both in the new Ronan-centered trilogy. What I'm going to mention is the couple from one of my favorite book series, and that actually is pretty much any of the couples from the Hollow Kingdom trilogy by Claire B. Dunkel, but of course my favorite book in the series is In the Coils of the Snake, which is the third and final book. And part of that is that I absolutely love the relationship between Miranda and Near. And so this series as a whole is basically about human girls, 3 human girls. Each book is it's a companion series, so each book follows a different character. And it's about each of the human girls as she interacts with the world of goblins and the world of elves. And obviously the goblins and the elves don't like each other. And it's kind of about, the first book is about the girl who basically gets taken away to become the goblin queen, basically. The second book follows the main character from the first book's sister, Emily, as the elf she's always been in love with, who lives with the goblins, basically goes out to find elves and kind of learn about his own people, and Emily goes after him. And then this final book, and I'm trying to leave these as spoilery as possible, I don't think any of those are spoilery, and this final book is basically about a young girl named Miranda who is raised as the Goblin King to eventually become the Goblin Queen for the next king. She basically gets, like, tossed out. They find a better, more compatible queen to be queen. So they basically tell Miranda that what she's been spending her entire life training for, or being prepared for, she can no longer do. And so she chooses to leave the goblins, and she gets taken in by a band of elves, and she kind of gets put in the care of this elf named Near, and it's like the relationship between Miranda and Near I really love because, you know, Miranda's in a really bad place in this book. I would definitely say throughout a big chunk of this book, she's heavily depressed. She talks about wanting to kill herself, and Near doesn't. It's not a case of like he cures her of that, but he kind of just shows her that there's more to the world than what she previously thought. He's like, you know, just because you can't be with the goblins doesn't mean that your life doesn't mean anything. And I love the relationship between them, and there's a certain level of angst there. And yes, part of the reason that this book is my favorite in the series is just because I do absolutely love the relationship between Miranda and Near so much. And, like, I've read this series twice now, and, like, my heart still, like, beats erratically when Miranda and Near have scenes together because I just love their relationship so much. Alright guys, this is a super long video because I like to ramble about the couples I really like. But here's the final one. And it is the OTP that I will never stop being invested in. When people ask me, I guess, what my true bookish OTP is, this is the couple. And I think it's just because that I've been introduced to them over and over and over again. And I still fall in love with their relationship every time. And that is a work from classic literature. That is Elizabeth and Darcy from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It's no surprise this is one of my favorite books of all time. And let's be real, part of it is just because Elizabeth and Darcy are so OTP. Like I've seen every movie adaptation, I've read the book, and I've seen the miniseries, and I love all of them. Like, every time I'm still equally invested in Elizabeth and Darcy's relationship, and I just love that they start out, like, hating each other because they both feel that their pride's been wounded, and I love the character development that they both go through over the series until they can finally both admit, like, damn, I really do love you. And just the scene at the end of this book, you guys know which one I'm talking about. I swoon. I literally swoon. Okay, it doesn't matter what, if I'm reading the book, if I'm watching the movie, I swoon. Every time. Because I'm just like... I love Elizabeth and Darcy so much. Like, I know I'm not the only one who, like, hardcore loves this relationship, obviously, but... I don't even know how to articulate my feelings about Elizabeth and Darcy because I just love them so much. So much. I love them. Everyone should love them too because they're wonderful together. Alright guys, obviously this is the month of love, February, and yeah, obviously this is a good opportunity for me to just gush about some of my favorite couples. Obviously there are a lot of them, and I actually thought this video would be short. Yeah, who am I kidding? When I get to talk about stuff I love, like OTPs, it's never short. But you guys should let me know down below what are some of your favorite OTPs or some of the ships that you are totally here for, or if any of these are some of your OTPs. I would obviously love to gush about them. So yeah, just let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye!